Welcome to Advice for Grad Students. I'm your host, Phil Haun, and today I have with me Josh Shifrinson, who is an associate professor at the School of Public Policy at the University of Maryland, but most importantly, he's a fellow alum of MIT SSP program. Josh, welcome to Advice to Grad Students.
Hey, Phil, thanks for having me in.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Just a reminder that the comments made to that today are of our own and aren't those of any institutions that we belong to. Okay, so disclaimers out of the way. Josh, why did you pick the topic of developing a network or community of scholars?
Well, when I was thinking back on what I wish I had known in graduate school, figuring out how to develop a community, by which I do not mean necessarily an intentional act, but simply how to develop a community of people that you trust, can turn to for advice, can turn to bat around ideas, is something I realized is one of the most critical facets of being a political scientist and being a professor, and something that's really not taught or explained or even referenced in any deep way. So it's something I really feel should be communicated to those going forward.
Well, I concur. I mean, we were in the same cohort together starting out, and I have to admit that you are one of the most networked people around in a very good professional way. So over to you. What advice do you give?
Well, so with that disclaimer out of the way, I don't think of myself as a social person, which is somewhat horrifying when people tell me I have a good network, because I keep wondering, is this the one-eyed man being king in the land of the blind? But when I think back upon this, what finally dawned on me is that graduate school in professional political science, it's a profession, right? But it's not just a profession. It's not just a professional enterprise. It's also a very personal enterprise. You get hinted this at a school like MIT when you're in grad school with your colleagues and you're batting around ideas, you're drinking late at night, you're going out for the $5 that you can afford for dinner. But when you enter the workplace as well, you have to remember, this is a personal enterprise. These are people's ideas, concepts, years of research being batted around. So one of the key critical tasks in developing a network is something to remember that these are people too. They've committed, they sacrificed in terms of opportunity, in terms of their time and energy. They've committed to the research enterprise. And so when you're engaging them in a professional setting, never forget that there are people there. And it's amazing what being personable, just baseline friendliness will do for developing a network. If you're not the jerk yelling epithets in the back of the room, it is amazing how far that will take you. Which is to say, be friendly and approachable in professional settings, right? Which sounds like something you teach kindergartners, but you'd be amazed at how academics tend to forget this. And by the same token, if you're in a professional setting, don't be one of those people who only wears a mask, right? Don't be so grim-faced and stone-faced that there is no person there. We all know that there's anxiety, there's passion that goes into research, there's time and energy that goes into research, there's time with family and friends that have been foregone for this. So don't be afraid to express some frustration at parts of the research, some joy when something goes right, some enthusiasm for someone else's research. It is amazing what an honest human emotion can do for attracting people just to you and just developing, being known as a respectable, friendly, engaged scholar who values people and values research for what they are. Related to that, especially as you move up in the profession, don't kiss up and punch down, right? Networks have to be hierarchical and they also have to be lateral. I've spoken a little bit to the lateral part of it in terms of being friendly and approachable, but don't forget that there's a hierarchical element. Don't praise, therefore, the senior scholars and poo-poo those who are coming up behind you. And by the same token, don't be afraid to approach senior scholars and express an honest emotion. It's amazing how rapidly senior scholars can come to respect you and be part of your network if you say to them in a very open-minded, fair-handed way, hey, I liked your paper, or I didn't like your paper, but I disagreed or liked this piece of it. Don't be afraid to give honest feedback to senior scholars. It is amazing how much smoke is blown in our profession, and developing a professional network can really be a very easy thing to do if you're simply honest and candid, not a jerk, just honest and candid in the process. Go ahead, Phil.
Oh, I was just going to back that up. I remember at ISA, I can't remember which ISA, I walked up to you and you were having one-on-one lunch with John Mearsheimer.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Over some serious research. So you actually live it out. anyway,
Yeah.
keep on going. I know you got another point to add.
No. I mean, Brendan Green once called it my suicidal disregard for self, and that could very well be the case. But there's an element of this here, right? Just be an honest person. Don't be afraid to engage people. And by the same token, don't be afraid to promote the next generation, right? Those coming up behind you, a couple of years behind you, whatever. Praise good work in all its forms for good work. And don't be afraid to critique, not criticize, but to critique problematic work. Somewhat contradictory, or somewhat perhaps ironically, some of the best professional networks are with those you disagree with, right? Particularly when you can disagree honestly and forthrightly, you can really gain a lot by saying to someone, hey, I don't think you're right on X, Y, and Z topics. Let's get a drink and talk about it. And all of a sudden, what could be a very confrontational professional interaction becomes an opportunity to build a bridge, to build a rapport with someone, and to talk about where the disagreement comes from, whether there's a there, whether there is a way to patch over the disagreement, and ultimately make progress both for the research itself as well as for your own well-being. That's another way of saying, too, that you have to put yourself in positions to develop this network, which in turn means showing up to things. Now, Phil mentioned ISA, there's always APSA, there are other professional settings. Now, I fundamentally do not think you should show up just for the sake of showing up in the sense of waving the flag, letting people know that I'm here. But if a conference is on a topic of interest, or a panel is on a topic that you're devoted to or researching, or you hear there's a workshop on such and such a topic that you believe you could contribute to, or that you want to attend, show up. Don't simply be the person who says things to be known from the back of the room, but show up and try to be engaged. Again, engage with the research, engage with the people, and don't be afraid to say, let's continue this conversation offline to keep the ideas flowing even after the event ends.
Okay.
And then,
I'm sorry, you had something else to say. Keep going.
Oh, no, I guess the last thing, and this is my last point with showing up, don't be afraid to seek out opportunities, right? It's amazing how risk-averse people are. People don't want to express desire to attend something. But if you hear of a workshop going on, you hear of an event going forward, and you want to attend, be it a professional event, a policy-focused event, a public event, don't be afraid to email the organizers and say, hey, my research is on this. I know so-and-so who is also on the panel. Do you think I could swing by? Could I snag an invitation? It's amazing what putting yourself out there in a professional way can do to build up a network and just make yourself known as someone who's passionate about the material. And I guess passion about the material is the crux of all this, right? A network develops around those who are invested in a topic, who are not jerks, and who believe in the research enterprise itself. And so in developing a professional network, those are the three skill sets. They're not revolutionary, they're just common sense in a way. But those are the three skill sets that will take you very, very far.
Okay.
So
those are great points about developing network. I want to turn this a little bit for the last question here. We've been using the network as the DV. And so we turn around and flip it around and say, what does the network then do? Why do you want to go through all this effort to develop the network?
Well, obviously you want to be popular at conferences. But more importantly, your network is the way that research gets advanced, right? Research gets advanced, and also it can help you professionally. You know, it is amazing the ability to send someone a paper, let's say Saturday at 2 p.m. when someone should be out, going for running errands or out exercising, whatever it is, and say, hey, I'm working on this thing. Can we find the time to talk about this? It is amazing what having a robust network can do for getting different perspectives on a project that you're interested in, perhaps even one that you're racing to meet a deadline on. There are some people I can call at 9 p.m. Phil, you're probably one of them, and say, I'm facing a deadline on Monday. I need to work on this all day tomorrow. Can we find 5 seconds on Sunday to chat? It's amazing the returns to scale on that one. And then, of course, there are professional opportunities where someone is asked to perform at an event or be a discussant, chair a panel, whatever it is. And maybe they can't do it, but they know that you're interested in this topic as well, and they'll put your name forward. Or there'll be names for dissertation awards, or research awards, research grants, jobs. All these things can come through word of mouth. Now, this is not a way of saying there's an old boys network that prevents people from advancing or helps others advance. It's simply a way of saying that networks matter. This has been proven in a number of sociological studies. Networks matter, and it's important to get your name out there. So regardless of who you are, regardless of what stage of your career you're in, developing a network, I think, pays professional returns and research returns in terms of it being an IV.
Yeah, and so that's about the time we have for this, but I wanted to reach out to the grad students and say it's pretty obvious that your cohorts right now can be core aspects or nodes of your network. Also, the grad students that are a few years in front of you, be able to reach out to them while they're physically around. And then don't forget the grad students, the stupid grad students that come after you. They likewise need early on, because they're unfortunately going to grow into being much smarter than you are if it's any of my own experience.
Yeah.
So anyway, Josh, thanks so much today for advice to grad students. Thanks for giving us your very precious time.
Oh, my pleasure. And it goes without saying that if anyone wants to chat more, just drop me an email.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot.